trusted in the industry through building their brand and generate quality appointments and more opportunities in the marketplace. Well, over the months and years, our clients and communities have really given me a feedback about the practice growth tips and how that has helped them to build their practice, which I'm really grateful of. But in last few years, particularly, or I would say, even in almost a couple of months now, where the lockdown happening in Victoria as well as in New South Wales, where the business and the professional, just like you, really they may not have a confidence. There's very low confidence in the market, or maybe that might be losing their mojo or the passion which they have or they initially have when they have started the business, or perhaps not sure about the plan, whether that may be weekly plan or monthly plan, or that might be quarterly plan. And there's literally no actions which lead to. And that's why I thought perhaps this is a perfect time for us to share a story and really understand the true potential and be a limitless in anything you do, both in person as well as in business. So if you're watching this, my friend, from any of the channels, including Facebook, or that might be Instagram, or that might be through your LinkedIn, feel free to give us a thumbs up or comments it, and we'd love to hear more about what you think about these episodes. And love to know a little bit more. So let's get started. Uh, Obviously, learning after the hitting the rock bottom with Dr. Kaejenn Tchia, who is also a dentist, entrepreneur, and motivation coach. And what an honor for me to bring him in this show today. And I hope his story will inspire you. Let's welcome him now. Great to have you in my show, Dr. Kaejenn.
Thank you for having me, Prabin.
Bet. All right. So let me go back when we had our initially chat. Obviously, with your personal story when we talked over the phone a few weeks ago, and you shared about your whys, and then we switched on straight away, eh?
Really?
And here we are today. So if that's okay, Kaizen, walk us through about the story, how you have transformed from a burnout dentist to a limitless dentist, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to thank you once again for allowing me to having me on this amazing platform that you have. So I'm a recent graduate dentist. I'm almost 3 years out of university. Graduated in 2018 from James Cook University. Currently live and work here in Darwin, Northern Territory, which is my birthplace and my home, where my family still live. And look, I had always known I wanted to be a dentist, probably since I was in around high school when I was young. To give you a bit of a backstory before I get to the burnout story.
Please.
So my humble origins, as I like to call them, started off in Darwin, and obviously I come from a migrant background.
Right.
There was no immediate dentists or doctors in my entire line of family line. And my parents, because they were migrants and in the lower SES sector, they didn't have the opportunities for higher education. So when they came to Australia and raised their three kids, I'm the youngest of three, really their hopes and dreams were for us to be able to get a better education and make something of ourselves. And I guess coming from that background, I always had the intention to kind of help others and be able to contribute to my community in my really significant way. And so when I was younger, I'd always kind of had the choices in front of me, which was either a doctor or possibly a dentist, because I saw that in the healthcare, you really have an opportunity to not only save lives, but also be able to really contribute to someone significantly and be able to provide better outcomes for them in life. So my older sister actually became the very first doctor in our entire family line. And she's 6 years older than me. So when she became a doctor, I saw how hard she worked, not only to get through medical school, but as a doctor. And when I saw the lifestyle that she had in terms of night shifts, and it was quite long hours, I realized that whilst that was awesome that she was helping those patients and helping those people out. That kind of lifestyle didn't necessarily align with me. And so dentistry was really lucky that it kind of came into my life in year 10. In year 10 in Darwin in high
Right.
school, they make you do a 1 week of work experience. And it
Really.
I was able to do work experience, funnily enough, for a
Right.
full circle story, at the very clinic I'm now a dentist at. So,
Really.
and yeah, I did
Wow.
dental. They actually took me on after my week on, and they were hiring what they call junior dental assistants, so people and kids in high school coming in part-time work, and they trained me on site. So I was a dental assistant from years 10 to 12 while studying. And then at the end of year 12, got the marks, got into dental school. And then I went straight into dental school, which was in Cairns at JP
Wow.
University. So I did my 5 years of training there, which was amazing experience, made some awesome friendships, connections, and
Hmm.
networks.
Hmm.
And then I graduated in 2018 and moved back home to Darwin. And I was really lucky that at the time, my boss, and actually before I move on to that part of the story, let me just uh, maybe share why I chose dentistry. Because in that week of work experience, I kind of thought, yeah, dentistry would be a cool avenue. But it wasn't until I did that week's worth of work experience that actually sold me on the career of dentistry. And
Right.
what I saw that was probably the thing that really hit at home and made me sold out, if you wish,
Mm.
on my career objectives was there was this one case I saw where this patient was finishing her smile transformation.
Hmm.
She previously hadn't been able to smile for many, many years.
Mm.
And through the rehabilitative work that Dr. Ong, my principal dentist, was able to do, she
Hmm.
smiled for the very first time. And when I saw the emotions and the tears of joy and how much it had affected her
Mm.
life,
Mm.
it was that monumental emotional moment that I said, that's the type of impact that I want to achieve for people in my life.
You bet.
So that got me sold on this journey of becoming a dentist. And so, worked really hard, got into dental school.
And
And
you
then,
bet. And sorry, just on that note, obviously, especially I like, being coming from that, but families as a migrant and starting there as a DA, and then your plan or you meet, seeing this case and going back to and trying to doing dentist. Wow, that's itself is an amazing, inspiration, great story here.
yes, and I always recommend to anyone,
Mm.
whenever I talk to anyone, even if it's patients or people I hear in high school who want to be a dentist, say if they're my patients, I just tell them, make sure you do some work experience and really find out to see
Mm.
whether the workplace aligns with you. Because I think so many times people see the highlight reels of a particular
Mm.
profession and they see the glorification, but they don't understand the
Mm.
nuances of what
Mm.
that true career really means.
You bet.
I'm really thankful that I had a really solid foundation that really confirmed what I wanted to do, which made it easy really for me because I
Hmm.
really had to follow one path. And I feel fortunate and grateful and blessed that I chose from a very young age what I wanted to do. And I just put my focus blinkers on and I just worked towards it, towards the end goal.
Wow, that's amazing. So from there, what happened there, please, Kaizen?
Yeah, so I moved back to Darwin, and I was really lucky that at the time my boss or principal dentist, Dr. Ong, actually sold the practice to Bupa about 5 years before I graduated. So when I started, pretty much within 2 years of me starting dental school, and I'd
Wow.
always kept in contact, visiting them. And at the end of the year, I was really lucky that when I was looking for a job, it just so happened that a spot. Their oral health therapist had just left the practice, and there was a spot for them to create for a new person on the team, which would be a dentist role.
Wow.
And so, I came back. They created a role for me, and it was like I was home again because,
Wow.
apart from the rebranding of the corporate practice, the practice manager was the same, the principal dentist was the same, one of
Mm.
our hygienists I used to work with is still the same, and a couple of different staff changes, but my old photos were still on the wall.
Really?
It really felt
Oh
like I
my
was coming home.
goodness. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm super grateful that my very first job for me
Mm.
is somewhere familiar because I think that really helped
Mm.
my transition coming out of
Mm.
school to becoming a professional dentist.
You bet. You bet. And then from there, what lead? That's where our viewers are curious here. What lead you? Because obviously, in such a short time and with such a focused, from the DA, you did this schooling and came back and luckily found the same place coming. And then from there, what happened there? Kaizen?
Yeah. So I guess my entire life I knew I wanted to be a dentist. And I guess whenever you have that monumentous goal that you're working towards, when you hit the apex of that summit or you reach the milestone, you hit that achievement, there's that question of what's next. And so what I found was that the very first 18 months of my career, there was a little bit of turbulence in the sense that what I thought was going to be the career of a dentist, and I thought it was going to be quite a smooth transition. But there was quite a lot of challenges being in obviously private practice in my first year out. And when I came to a lot of those clinical challenges, actually there is a bit of a precedent really for my original burnout, because in
Mm-hmm.
final year I spent one of half of my placement year in Townsville, and it was actually there that because of the I guess the high speed and flow of patients, I found it quite overwhelming. And so before I graduated dental school, there was already some feelings of me feeling not quite prepared and ready to graduate. But I kind of summed up the courage, pushed through, and I managed to graduate, of course, which was
Right.
amazing. But I think those traumas, I think that I
Mm,
would like to say that I hadn't really dealt with it, and I kind of
mm,
swept it under the carpet, as a lot of
mm,
us kind of do as dentists. We
mm.
kind of sometimes we bottle things up, or we go, "Oh no,
Yeah.
like that's not a problem. Let's move on." And so, in my first 18 months, when I started to get new clinical challenges, it
Mm-hmm.
kind of was a bit nostalgic, where I was getting some sense that
Mm,
I was feeling similar symptoms of burnout again. And it was, I hit rock bottom around
mm,
about 18 months in, because
mm,
what happened was it was a series of clinical challenges day after day that was stressing me out to the point where I was getting sleepless nights. I was chronically stressed, anxious, had panic attacks,
mm,
and my mental health was really suffering. And when I hit that rock bottom point, I got to the realization that I was
mm,
like, I no longer enjoy coming into work, or I'm dreading coming into work
mm,
for the fear of doing something, or doing something that could potentially put my patients at risk, or feel as if I don't have what it takes to be the dentist I wish to be. And that was quite a scary moment for me, but it was also a rock bottom place. And for anyone who's listening to this right now who is maybe in a similar position or close to it, really part of me sharing my story is to really let my colleagues know that it's, you're not the only one out there. So I never want them to suffer in silence. But more importantly, when I hit that rock bottom, I realized that I wanted something different. I wanted something more, and I no longer wanted to feel in that place of fear and scarcity anymore. So it was lucky that around that time
mm,
it kind of, I found some personal development mentors
mhm,
who really guided me over
mm,
the next 6 to 9 months.
mm,
And through personal development, through changing some habits, changing my mindset, my perspective of how I was seeing failure, how I was seeing clinical challenges, it really forced me to get a new perspective. And I've always been a very self-aware person, but I didn't quite have the strategies to deal with it. The other thing too was I started sharing my story more with my colleagues. So being vulnerable to people and really saying to my principal dentist, my senior colleagues, that actually I'm struggling right now and I need some help. And when I said that, what was really nice was a lot of people around me really came to support me when I kind of made that call for help. But more importantly, they actually shared that they had gone through something similar. So that gave me reassurance that, I was not the only one. But the other thing it showed me was that actually the status quo is that there's a lot of our colleagues that are just almost like a norm that burnout happens in dentistry. And I didn't quite like that that was the current status quo. And so that's where, after I was able to find my feet again, that's what birthed the Limitless Dentist, which is really my passion project, and really my platform that I use to really bring about the really important conversation about mental health in dentistry.
mm.
More importantly, the concept of mindset, and how mindset is almost more important than skill set, especially if your early career in your practice.
You bet. You bet. Now, I love your perspective, on saying that. Obviously, when you hit that, especially the 1%, the professionals, like dentists or specialists or any health surgeons, obviously we try to achieve that. We focused on 3 4 5 years or even 7 years to achieve that, and then after that, where do you go from there? And that's where sometimes it is confusing, isn't it, especially for the young one who have just finished the schools, or someone who's just trying to establish the business. It's always overwhelming for them. So what has then, would that be the right in saying, with what you have gone through, what with the journey and how your mentor and people have helped through, so what has inspired you to create a limitless dentist then, Kaizen?
So I have to say that when I shared my, so I like to say that I really, the Limitless Dentist gave me a platform where I could share, turn my mess that I was and turn it into the message that I now share with other people. So from the mess to the message. And really,
Beautiful.
the concept of that is that, when I started sharing my vulnerability with other people, more and more people around me started
Mm,
to share. And some of these people were well established in their career, so not even recent graduates. But even my colleagues started to share that they were stressed out as well. And I guess when the pandemic also hit, because this kind of, now that the pandemic and we're still, living in, quite strong COVID times, especially if you're in Victoria and New South Wales, this concept of uncertainty and fear has been riddling not even just the dental sector, but globally everywhere. And so what I realized was that, if I could create a platform where I could share some of the knowledge, but more importantly, share the message of how, if I was able to overcome my challenges and find a sense of balance again, and to find a sense of fulfillment, which is really, fulfillment and joy is really important in a career in terms of
mm,
long-term sustainability. If I can show people that I went through it and I could get to the other side, and I could try to help people walk through their own traumas and troubles and struggles to the same effect, then
mm.
I think really we're going to see a lot less burnout. Ideally, we want to try and prevent and eliminate burnout.
Yeah,
But more importantly, to talk about a real thing, dentistry has one of the highest suicide statistics
you bet.
across the professional sectors.
Mm,
And
mm,
my one goal and dream really is, if I can prevent one colleague from needing to consider taking their life because they feel like there's no other help around them or they're feeling like they're lost, I think that's a great, great impact, because that one person's life that's been
mm,
saved or feels like they can get through their troubles then has a massive impact on their community that they're serving. So at the Limitless Dentist here, the concept of being a limitless dentist is being the best version of you, but
mhm.
more importantly, being the best dentist you can be. So it's very individual to the individual, because I think too many people strive to be like someone else. There's a lot of comparison syndrome, especially in the advent of social media. But something I've come to realize is that we're all unique, and what we all bring as dentists to our practices is our perspective, our view on the world, but more importantly, the way in which we care.
You
And I
bet.
think it's important to optimize what we have in our unique DNA rather than trying to model or be someone else.
Absolutely, that's what a great message, Dr. Kaizen. Really, from that really, for our viewers who are watching this right now, they're thinking, okay, look, obviously we are, the uncertain time we are living in a very interesting time, and many of us are in a mess, and sometimes we just have to accept it and make that mess, fix that mess, and how you can transform that mess to a message, which can you can share that to the wider community. That's a beautiful message there, and that reminds me, actually, in fact, I was listening to a Simon Sinek. Probably you may know him. The person who teach about the why you do what you do, and he talks about the infinite game, and he gives the analogy as in any game, many people, there is a start, there is an end. These are the players, these are the rules, very boundary. It's a very finite game in any games, whether that may be AFL, footy, cricket, any game. But when you compare about those games, and obviously as a business or as a career, It's a very infinite game, which means we don't know our player, we don't know who the competitors are, we don't know what the product will be in next 2 to 3 years time, we don't know who's coming up with the new ideas, and where they're coming from, whether that may be Australia. I mean, we don't know really. So this is possibilities of the obviously infinite game, and career is the same. Anytime people think, oh, I got to do this degree, this 5 years degree, be a dentist or being a leading surgeon or whatever the professionals, and then guess what? And that's where it is an infinite game. It is that possibilities, isn't it? Having that limitless mindset. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And the that book is an awesome book, The Infinite Game, because the other thing that Simon shares as well
Hmm.
is this concept that in when you play an infinite game, it's always about playing the game, and there's always going to be a victor or a loser. But the
Yes.
true
Beautiful.
essence of the infinite game is keeping the baton flame or keeping the game
Oh,
alive.
love it. Love it. I think that's the point. I missed that. Love it. Yes. How much you are in the game, that it matters. The variable here. And thanks for that insight. Definitely, guys. And now I'm sure I'm seeing that number of the viewers are watching this. And thank you for all your amazing the likes and shares. And right now I am with our Kaizen, Dr. Kaejenn Tchia. So who is a dentist entrepreneur, and he is in a mission to help young dentists and other dentists who are burnout and they want to transform the life. So yeah, and purpose driven to fulfill their career. Uh, just on that note, when I was going through your bio, Kaejen, obviously you're a dentist, entrepreneur, motivation coach, and now I found something that you are very passionate about. AD, Australian Dental Board, and Northern Territory, where you are also a treasurer there. Can you able to talk to me about what motivates to be a part of ADA, these beautiful organizations, and working as a dentist?
Yeah. So I've always strived to always have a broader impact outside not just of my patients in my clinic, but to see how much more I can contribute to my colleagues in the profession as a whole. And I guess that's where my drive really comes from, to pursue additional roles like with the ADA. As you said, I'm current treasurer of the ADA Northern Territory branch.
Hmm.
Ever since I was in high school, I've always been very aspired towards leadership.
Mhm.
I really value leadership, and also really value how much organizations and involvement in committees, how your input can actually have a massive impact, and then on how the profession then fares. And so, because I have, I guess you could say, since high school, a lot of experience working with other non-for-profit youth organizations, and even in dental school, I was working with the local student association. It was my greatest time when I felt like I was serving a greater cause than just my own life. And so that's really my main driver for doing with the ADA, and this idea that, I could contribute to the conversation that's going to take our profession to that next level and towards the future.
Beautiful. That's a great thought and a great purpose. Obviously to contribute in a bigger than you or the family, and obviously contributing, and the professionals we are, in a different industry and contributing to the board is amazing things. Now, and hats off to what you are doing, Kaizen, for sure. Now, I'm conscious with the time right now, and obviously, if there's any questions, by the way, guys, feel free to quickly write in the chat. We can bring to Kaizen as well. A couple of minutes now. Obviously, we're living in a very, very interesting time. I say interesting because uncertain. Time has never been a certain. It's always uncertain. There is no doubt here. Interesting time, but if you have to choose one piece of advice, those viewers who are watching this or the dentistry during the challenging time, what would that be, Kaizen?
Yeah. So one of the most profound things that helped me overcome my challenges was understanding that how our fears and how everything in life plays out is as a result of certain belief systems or stories we tell ourselves, whether they're something that we learn or something that we've experienced and we continue to tell ourselves. One of them, for instance, when I was in my burnout was things like, I'm not a good enough dentist, or I'm not enough, or I don't think I can do this complex procedure. And those stories then kind of continue to then affect the actions or the inactions I take towards my career. But the biggest insight I can probably share, if I was to share one tip to anyone who's listening today, is that many dentists think that a perfectionist mindset is what you need to be happy and to be successful in your career. But actually, I realize that a perfectionist mindset is probably the most detrimental mindset to have. Instead, choosing progress over perfection is really the key, because the key to happiness is actually progress, knowing that you're being a little bit better than you are today than you were yesterday, rather than trying to achieve something that is not only sets the expectations sometimes too high for ourselves, but more importantly, it you go down this very vicious cycle, because if you strive for perfection, even when you think you've done it perfectly, you come back to something later, you're always going to find a flaw in it. And so recognizing that rather than trying to do things perfectly, really it's about just trying it for the very first time. And if you make a failure or a mistake, then learning from that, having a better relationship with failure, with a positive perspective around that as a growth point rather than from a failure point. And then, always striving to be progressive and striving for progress.
Wow, wow, wow. So that's a great message there, Kaizen. So definitely, it's not about just being a perfectionist, but having that learning agency mindset. So always we are progressing. Yeah. And that's a key in the world we are living in right now. So how would we do it then? The question is, how would we do it so that if you're really, because sometimes as a 1% professionals like a dentist or any healthcare specialist, how would you do it? What are some ways do you think that has helped you? One or two ways? Anything you can share of?
Sure. So one of the things that I teach, which is my framework at the Limitless Dentist, is my 6-step belief system, which is an acronym. Because as I said before, beliefs can either create or destroy your sense of actions, your self-worth, and everything that surrounds your life. But the key thing really is actually, at the end of the day, one of the things I've found to cure your fears and your anxieties and your challenges is to actually take massive, uncomfortable action. So, everything that you've done in your life right now has only gotten you this far. But if you feel like you're at a stagnant point, or there's a ceiling that you can't quite break through to your next level of growth, you need to adopt new sets of actions, or new sets of skills, and new sets of mindsets in order for you to break through that ceiling and go to that next level. So one of the things I've done in my life is leaning into fear and taking uncomfortable action. So taking action even though it feels weird and feels scary. And when you eventually overcome those challenges, the sense of pride, the sense of self-accomplishment, but more importantly, courage and also self-confidence that you build is the bedrock that then gives you more motivation and drive to continue taking even more uncomfortable action. But definitely, I share this framework. I've got my Instagram page at the Limitless Dentist. If you feel free to follow that. I go do a live training every Saturday. I've also got a private Facebook community called the Limitless Dentist Facebook community, which is for dentists only. And it's really a safe space where I dive deeper into my tools and strategies that have helped me in my life. And here's the thing I always share with everyone whenever I share my story, the Limitless Dentist. I'm still a work in progress. So I never want anyone to think that I'm a perfected product, and nor do I strive to be. But I think it's nice to know that someone who you can learn from is also really invested in their own learning path. And whatever tools and strategies I ever teach to people, I also apply in my own life, and I share the testimonial of really very honestly and vulnerably how it's affecting my life. And so I think that's really the key thing is, finding communities that support, but more importantly, taking uncomfortable actions in spite of your fears.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Kaizen. So all, if I can recap, you is being in uncomfortable, trying to be comfortable in an uncomfortable way. Is that what you're is that what the, if I have to message it, is that the right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. Try to become comfortable in the uncomfortable, and take
Beautiful.
action. There's one simple phrase I think in which is action cures fear.
Accent cues fear. Oh, wow, wow, wow. What an honor to have you in my episode today, Kaizen. Thank you for sharing your stories, and I hope all our viewers have, certainly I have, that has really inspired me, and the line of the work which you are doing for the young people and the organization, it's really touched my heart, and that's something I'm passionate about, and contributing to the wider community. And thank you again, once again. Is there any other final thoughts to share to our viewers right now?
Look, I want to just finally share and thank you again for your time and allowing me to share on this platform. But if anyone is currently struggling right now and they're looking for someone to reach out to, feel free to either reach out to me at the Limitless Dentist or even find my personal social media handles. I'm across all the social medias: LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. But really, but the most important thing I can share really is that, if you're feeling like there's an uncertainty in your life, don't feel like you need to continue to be the manager of your circumstances. One of my mentors shared with me that rather than being on the defensive side of life where you're always managing things that are thrown at you, you can actually instead choose to become the creator of your own destiny. And what I mean by that is when you realize that life happens for you instead of to you, and a simple set of decisions to change your life and change the way life has, you can open your eyes to a completely new possibility you couldn't fathom before. So if you need any help, please reach out, and I'm more than happy to share and serve how best I can.
Thank you, Dr. Chia Kaizen, once again, and we are really thrilled and looking forward to sharing more in coming months ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Bhavin.
so much. Cheers. Thank you, guys. I hope that Kaizen story have really inspired you and to be a limitless in anything you do in both personally as well as in business. I would love to hear your thought and your feedback. Yeah, feel free to quickly. You can email me. Here is my email, Praveen at 360 Dental. Obviously, all our dental communities. If there's anything we can learn or any feedback. And hey, look, if you have an amazing story and if you think that the story need to be heard or to be to share to other communities or dental communities, feel free to reach out to me. You can just send me an email, Praveen at all the details are just here, and we'll get in touch with you very shortly. Now, besides that, actually, obviously, in this downtime, we have also heard about the community. Some of the community members have asked us to find out the current trends, and there's some ways and some really they're thinking to what are the top steps in this downtime to learn and to grow. That's where we are organizing exclusive event of with the latest buzzword in the dental, obviously podium, where we are collaborating with it, and obviously helping our communities. So if you want to know more about the about coming episodes, yeah, just be tuned, and until then, you take care and bye for now.